Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here in Austria at the Salzburgring, and we keep on going in our weekend's program. Sundays, of course, well underway with Renault Twingo Cup and Formula 4 Central European Zone races already behind us, but still 8 races coming up. And the next one, with the cars already lined up on the grid, is, of course, the first race of the Suzuki Swift Cup Europe. Suzuki Swift Cup, they had a change of schedule yesterday as multiple red flags during the F4 quali made it impossible for the Suzuki Swift Cup qualifying to take place in time, which means it was moved to the end of the program, and all the drivers actually managed the qualifying laps still on dry track before the storm hit Salzburgring. It was a brief but quite intense shower that made the track all wet, but for today's proceedings it's all dry again. The rain should arrive back later on in the day, but it looks like it will only hit the track once all the running is completed. But let's see, you just never know in the Alps, do you? Cars lined up on the starting grid, so let's see the proceedings, because of course you've already seen the graphic starting grid. And of course we have got 2 fields to watch for. We've got the 1.4 turbo cars heading the field and the 1.6 naturally aspirated, slightly slower machines behind them on their separate grid. But it is Ádám Mészáros, the Hungarian driver, on pole position. Alongside him, Gábor Tim, the former series champion. Daniel Nemes in third from Bastian Frischmann. In fourth, Balázs Hartmann in P5, and Egon Burkus completing the 1.4 field in 6th, and then a 4-car field in the 1.6 class. Zoltán Csuti, Adam Slezák, Milan Merk and Ferenc Hartmann. You can also hear the cheers from the ambient mics as the Formula 4 race is now going through their podium ceremony, handing trophies to the drivers that were the most successful in the previous race. Cars number 76, 78 under investigation. That would still be messages from the Formula 4 race, but we go ahead on the formation lap. 4.2 kilometer long racetrack here in Austria. And as we can now see, the track is even drying up in the places where it was still wet earlier on. Here we are now moving up the hill. Everything already more than dry. Well, not more than, but everything sufficiently dry. And also, actually, the clouds cleared quite quickly. It was a really brief shower last night, with the clouds just... It was actually a big storm, which mostly hit other parts of Austria, and sort of with its edge, and a little cloud on its edge, it also hit this track. So the core of the storm was actually somewhere else. The track was not hit that badly, and then the clouds cleared quite quickly, which means that when we woke up this morning, the skies were clear again for a beautiful Sunday of motorsport. Cars now completing the formation lap. I'm just still checking the messages from race director, but those are all still connected to Formula 4 race. Nothing to report at the start of the Suzuki Swift Cup Europe. after which we'll do also the second race of the weekend for the Clio Cup Bohemia, then Eastern European TCR, and then the second race of the day, third overall from the Formula 4, before we'll make the lunch break. And we'll do again a race of Swift Cup, TCR Eastern Europe, Twingo Cup and Formula 4 to top the program with. So let's get going with the Suzuki Swift Cup, starting their first race of the weekend, being one of the two championships, having both of their races only on Sunday. And the red lights are extinguished, which means that we are underway here in Austria, with the cars jumping off the grid. At least for Gábor team, that was a bit of a rocky start, and he immediately drops all the way down the field. Ádám Mészáros therefore leading the 1.4 cars into the first chicane. Everybody two-wheeling it through. And Mészáros made a really good job of the opening couple of corners and immediately pulling out a little bit of a gap. This is a very critical corner, honestly. You really need to make this one right, otherwise you just lose and lose. And now look at that. Even though Ádám Mészáros pulled a bit of a gap at the beginning, he will now be swallowed by the rest of the pack because the slipstream just really works. And there is Bastian Frischmann in that orange and blue car, being very quick indeed, using the slipstream to gain a top speed advantage. Will try to drive around the outside of the fearsome turn number 11, but Ádám Mészáros defending hard, staying ahead. Frischmann wanted to do the switchback, but he was still alongside Mészáros, so was unable to do so. And it's Balázs Hartmann right next to them as well. Car number 505. Not the best of qualies for him. So Mészáros in the end completing the opening lap of the race, still in the lead from Frischmann and Balázs Hartmann. Gábor team initially dropped down to 5th, now already gained one place back and has got Daniel Nemes right behind him. Egon Burkus completing the field in 6th, and he really has to work for it not to lose contact with the group. Again, one of my personal experience from earlier on today. If you do that, if you actually lose touch with the rest of the pack, then there is no redemption for you. Because you're just sitting there in the car, watching everybody disappear into the distance with your foot buried hard on the floor, on your throttle pedal, but you just feel like nothing is happening and everybody's just driving away from you. So if you lose the touch with the slipstream, then that's it for you, honestly. You can only hope for the other drivers to fight it out then in the S's, being out of position and not having the best of exits for you to catch up. But that's pretty much it for you that you can do. So Egon Burkus really needs to speed up a bit through this part of the track to get back in touch with the rest of the pack. Otherwise they will just drive away. Mészáros leading from Frischmann. He had a little bit of a wider exit, but nothing wrong in the end. And Ádám Mészáros trying to pull ahead. I wonder if that's even possible here at the Salzburgring. Balázs Hartmann did have a little look down the inside of Bastian Frischmann. They chose slightly different lines and were very close to one another at one point. And Balázs Hartmann making a move around the outside. He used the slipstream and pulls himself ahead of Frischmann. Now coming under pressure from Gábor Tim, who's trying to recover from the poor start. Gábor Tim, he was on the front row of the grid, but he now did not really check the door on the inside. And Daniel Nemes tries to invite himself. So they are now running side by side with Bastian Frischmann enjoying a little bit of a fresh air right now, having been under pressure from Tim. Mészáros leading by about 1.4 seconds across the line. So still holding on to that gap that he has. It is also critical for him, but I would still expect that Hartmann and Frischmann, if they collaborate, they could use the slipstream to catch back with the race leader. In terms of the 1.6 pack, it's Zoltán Csúti, currently leading by about 5 seconds from the rest of the drivers. Slezák in second from Merck and Ferenc Hartmann. Cars really dancing under braking. It's a very hard braking zone into 12. And these cars actually acting like go-karts. So into the 1.6 field, that's pretty much the only fight in it, because Csúti is quite far ahead. And then we've got these two drivers, Slezák and Merck, enjoying a fight between one another, and them being very much clear of Ferenc Hartmann, who's driving in 10th. You could see here is Zoltán Csúti leading the field up ahead. Seems like he does not want to use his rearview mirrors. And why would he if he's just driving alone and away from everybody? Some drivers just choosing to have the mirrors very, very, very small indeed. So through the chicane we go. That was a much better drive through it from Milan Merck. Now trying to send it round the outside, switching back to the inside, trying for a better exit. This will give him slipstream. And you might not believe that on cars as slow as these, it even works. Trust me, it does. For example, on the Twingo, if you're on your own, going up the hill, you can do around about 132 maybe. If you use the slipstream, you can even gain as many as 9-10k, which is a lot. That's Bastian Frischmann fighting Balázs Hartmann for second, just as Ádám Mészáros has already increased his lead to nearly 2 seconds. Further fight through the chicane. And now Gábor Tim trying to overtake Frischmann. Frischmann cannot have slipstream. He finds it now behind Hartmann, even though he's a little bit far away. But look at Gábor Tim together with Daniel Nemes, helping each other out. But Gábor Tim now slots ahead of Frischmann, robbing the Nemes of the slipstream. But the biggest loser of this fight is now Bastian Frischmann, who's dropped a lot of positions, having been second a moment ago. He is now down to fifth, with 15 minutes left on the clock. Mészáros leading, still by more and more. It's incredible that you can actually pull so much of a gap, but if you just drive cleanly and quickly, as he does, because he's just set another fastest lap of the race, 1:40.0. Everybody behind him does a lot slower. Balázs Hartmann 1:41.3, Gábor Tim 1:40.7, Nemes 40.6, and you've already got more than 3 seconds between the race leader and the rest of the pack, who they're not even trying to help each other massively. They are fighting each other, which means they are actually robbing one another of more and more time. Another fight in the 1.6 class. Adam Slezák took too much of a curb, and you could see how it kicked him up in the air, destabilized the car, and actually what he was trying to do, the straightest possible line through the chicane, actually robs him of a position, because it destabilized the car so much that he had a really poor exit, was overtaken by Milan Merk on the spot. Coming back up the hill, Gábor Tim defending from Nemes. Bastian Frischmann trying to stay together. We've just entered the second half of the race. Mészáros 2.6 ahead of the rest of the pack. They closed in on him a little bit. Let's see if they can get any closer than this. This time it's Balázs Hartmann setting the fastest lap of the race, 1:40.0, but it was not that much faster than the race leader, who did 1:40.2, so they just chopped a tenth and a half. Slezák versus Merk, one of the other fights that keeps us occupied. So across the line we go again. This time Mészáros was much faster than the guys behind him, and he added another half a second to his gap, 3.1. So he keeps enjoying a comfortable lead. Bastian Frischmann had a look down the inside on Daniel Nemes, who is now visually out of position, dropping 2 wheels behind the curb, and this also brings Egon Burkush into the party, just as these 2 guys are now trying to pull ahead of the rest of the group. Ooh, and look at this. That is Adam Slezak down the inside, Milan Merk on the outside. The order between them still does not change, although Milan Merk seems to be slightly faster. Now getting Slezak slightly out of position, but still holding the inside line into the S's. This left-hander is quite difficult to hit properly. You don't really want to break into it too much, but you do need to hit the curb so that the curb actually sends you in a little bit more. Otherwise you just keep or end up driving around and understeering in the rest of the section, losing a lot of time through it, losing a lot of time on the exit. But Slezak glued his car onto the inside line. But the 1.6 cars will now have to make way for the faster cars. So that is Ferenc Hartmann already being lapped by the rest of the pack. And also by Balázs Hartmann. Seven minutes left. Mészáros comfortably ahead of everyone else and not really letting anybody closer. 2.4 was as close as he allowed anybody on the previous laps. But now he increased that gap back above 3 seconds. .7 this time, as Hartmann and Tim are now driving together. We've still got just above 6 minutes in this race. So maybe, just maybe, if these two help each other out, but still, the lap times seem to be way too similar. Burkush already ahead of Frischmann. Frischmann was even up to second at the start of the race. troubling Ádám Mészáros very briefly. This is again where you gain a lot if you help each other out with the slipstream. And it does seem like these two are now getting closer with Ádám Mészáros. So are we in for an exciting fight for the race win to end the race with? Let's see. And they are actually indeed a lot closer now with Balázs Hartmann, Gábor Tim, and now Egon Burkus. Sharing the fastest laps of the race. Ooh, Hartmann very aggressive over the curbs indeed. Breaking the lower splitter, or the spoiler. 1:40.022 is now the time of Egon Burkus, who's already pulled away from Frischmann, but Balázs Hartmann 2.1 seconds behind Mészáros. And Hartmann together with Tim, they use the slipstream together. Also, we have got the 1.6 cars currently hoping into view. And they will have to get overtaken, but they are fighting each other, so that can also spice things up just that tiny little bit. Let's see. Hartmann working together with Tim now. Or it would appear so. But they are getting closer and closer to Ádám Mészáros, who only did 1:40.6 on the previous lap. Mészáros already overtaking Milan Merck. You could see that slight bump on the inside of that sweeping corner. 1.7 between Mészáros and Hartmann. Does not seem to be close enough. Hartmann's trying, and he's probably already being able to use a little bit of the slipstream from Mészáros's car. And he even did 139.6. He dropped under 140 on the previous lap, just like Gábor Tim, who did 139.8. Mészáros, his personal best at 140.0, so he's trying everything he can, but he is on his own with no slipstream. I mean, he did get a little bit of it from the 1.6 cars. Not sure how effective that is for him, but he's doing that again. Let's see as we run across the line yet again. 1.1. They do get closer indeed. But this would already be the final lap of the race. So if anything were to happen, it has to happen on the back straight, maybe towards the turn number 11, but for that you'd really need a proper exit out of 5 now. So through turns number 1, 2, 3 we've gone. This is the slight kink of turn number 4, and this is the crucial one. This is the crucial one which can decide. And I believe that Balázs Hartmann manages a great line through there, but so does Ádám Mészáros, and they are still quite far away. Are they going to be able to help each other? Ádám Mészáros, he's already lost all the lead that he had. But is this going to be enough for a potential move? I believe that Hartmann can already enjoy slipstream behind Mészáros, but he's just not close enough yet. 30 seconds left. That means that this is the last lap of the race. But what happens now? We're already getting to the part of the track where it's pretty difficult to overtake. Or if you can, you really have to be very close indeed, which Hartmann still isn't. And he's got very close, but this will not be close enough, I believe. There's actually one of the 1.6 cars in the gravel, so everybody had to slow down a bit for the yellow flags. Now they are together. I mean, we would need another lap, but we are not going to get it. And that will be it. Oh, we are going to get it. It is plus one lap. So in that case, it's all for the race win. So it's going to be pretty difficult for Ádám Mészáros then. Up the hill we go again. He did not mess up the turn number 5. Slightly different rules apply to Suzuki Swift Cup, which has got its own governance apart from the TCR Eastern Europe, Formula 4, the F4 Academy, which runs the Twingo Cup. And now this is for the race win. Balázs Hartmann overtakes Ádám Mészáros on that plus one lap. Mészáros, of course, doesn't want to lose it. They are staying side by side. This is really close. And they are even touching, probably. Ádám Mészáros really fighting very hard for the race win. Both of them do. They crash again. None of them wants to yield, and Gábor Tim tries to see if there is anything for him to be had. Ádám Mészáros was very aggressive, but with that he keeps the lead on that plus one final lap. And there they go. Ádám Mészáros is going to win eventually. He had to fight for it. And he did. And it was messy and it was aggressive and there was contacts involved. But Ádám Mészáros comes across the line first on the road in a thrilling closing laps of the race. Number 1 here at Salzburgring. Balázs Hartmann ends up second on the road with Gábor Tim completing the podium. Daniel Nemes in fourth from Egon Burkus. Bastian Frischmann actually ended up in the pits. Then we've got Zoltán Csuti taking victory in the 1.6 class from Milan Merck. And Ferenc Hartmann as Adam Slezák beached his car on the outside of turn number 12. There is Milan Merck, who in the end scored that second place in his class as Adam Slezák ended up in the gravel. So those are your results of race number 1 of the Suzuki Swift Cup here at Salzburgring. Of course, more is to come up. We will have Clio Cup coming up next. What a race number 1 it eventually turned out to be for the Suzuki Swift Cup Europe.